the show's name changed. I don't want to call UFC Bad Blood.
Count my face.
Come on. I want it to be called UFC Good Business.
You are a terrible human being.
I'm ready to shut this chump up.
Because that's what it is. It's good business.
Listen, negativity sells. We see that on the news or over the airwaves and newspapers, et cetera, et cetera. And so if you can cultivate a bad blood persona, in America, if not the world, it has proven that that's incredibly marketable. Fans don't love anything more than they love rivalries. Rivalries are what make the world go round in sports.
There's so many great ones when you go through sports, whether it's the NBA, Lakers and Celtics.
Red Sox, Yankees.
North Carolina and Duke.
Ali Frazier.
Michigan, Ohio State. But with combat sports, it's personal.
When the right lights come on and the fans are in that environment and they give you this gladiator, Roman Coliseum type atmosphere, you're on your own.
Mixed martial arts is the perfect platform for feuds and rivalries because there's no hiding.
With the fight game, you know, they go to war. There's something primal about that, and at the end of the day, it comes down to that fighter.
There's more to it. When people truly don't like each other, it just happens to fit perfectly in a sport where you can punch each other in the face.
From Lockford, California, please welcome Ken Shamrock.
Ken Shamrock was excellent at building a fight. He had this passion that you believed this is a bad guy and he's gonna tear this guy's head off.
He and Hoist Gracie had a series of great fights and memorable bouts.
He looked like the guy everybody thought would be the star of this thing.
In the meantime, Tito Ortiz came along, and he was the guy who was willing to get out there and talk.
I'm Tito Ortiz, and I'm staying here for a long, long time.
Tito Ortiz was a guy who understood the value of promoting himself. Tito Ortiz always knew that it is in my best interest to get people to remember me, get people behind me, give them a reason to want to watch me other than I'm just going to put my fist through another guy's face like everybody else on the card is trying to do.
It was fascinating watching Tito Ortiz dig holes and drag people in them and flip cameras off.
Tito Ortiz, he pissed a lot of people off, but I think it made for great fights, and I think it made for, you know, some of the best rivalries that we'll ever see in the UFC.
Tito Ortiz, the Huntington Beach bad boy.
Tito had fought somebody from the Lion's Den, and that's the gym that Shamrock was the head of. And after he beat him, Tito went over and he flipped off Ken Shamrock and yelled at him from inside the cage while Ken was a coach in a tournament on the outside of the cage.
Ken Shamrock, we got some bad vibes, gotta take care of with him. So I just get a little warm-up fight with the old Ken Slamcock, or excuse me, Shamrock.
I hope to God you come ready, because if you don't, I am gonna beat you into the living death.
Shamrock Ortiz, it really captured a lot of imagination, and it really had a lot of mainstream coverage.
And just so you guys know, right here on the left side of me, this is the MGM. That's Ken Shamrock getting his ass kicked. And then after that, you guys want to come to an after party? About right here, that's my room. You guys can come to an after party.
And that drew not only a large crowd, and they did fairly well on pay-per-view, but people were really into it.
Listen to this crowd. It's deafening in here. You guys have a sold-out show. First time we set a record.
Ortiz and Shamrock, I believe at the time, reportedly sold 100,000 pay-per-views, which might as well have been 2 million back then. I mean, that seemed out of this world.
Ken Shamrock and Tito Ortiz kicked off the idea that people do care about the drama beyond just being inside the octagon.
You know, after the success of Tito and Shamrock and their rivalry and it driving record numbers of buys, certainly that's something that you would like to replicate.
Tito's your good friend. I know you guys are training partners. Is that going to affect you when you guys fight?
Well, you know, it's part of the game. It's part of the business. So we'll be friends. Up until then, fight time, it's all business.
Chuck Liddell and Tito Ortiz were two of the huge stars of the early time of the UFC. And that developed into this massive rivalry, and their fights became mega events.
One ingredient, I think, that makes for great theater, especially in combat sports, is when you have friends turned enemies, right? Because you have a natural relationship between two guys, they like each other, now all of a sudden they hate each other, and that's a story that people want to hear. But you're also talking about the two guys who were at the top of the sport, so it was the perfect rivalry.
It's the biggest grudge match in the history of mixed martial arts is about to occur.
I have never heard a crowd like this before. Everyone is on their feet for this.
And here we go. The friendship is over. It is loud here. Tito covers up. Chuck continues to tee up. Combination, uppercut. Chuck is on the
Liddell Ortiz broke barriers, and Chuck became the face of the UFC at that point. Chuck became such a huge star.
I think it kicked off a glorious couple of years for the company where everything went up.
Whoa, that's a stare down, baby.
I'm not impressed by your performance.
Anytime you want, I'll knock you out again.
Sean Shark, you're dead.
She's like a bitch right now. Straight up. You hear my face on me every day.
Speak the wrong words, man, and you will get touched. Your simple words just don't move me.
I don't think George is hurt. I think he's scared. I think he's scared to fight everybody right now.
Don't make me have to call your name out.
Where you at, George?
The punches and the kicks used to be enough. You used to be able to get guys to take their t-shirts off and get into a steel cage and fight, and you could bring people in droves. You can't do that anymore. There has to be a story. There has to be a reason why they're fighting, and sometimes it can be competitive in nature.
You got my belt. Lesnar has the belt. We'll see if he can make it out of the first round, but hey, this time I'll make him famous on the break that I do to him.
Sometimes, if you get really lucky, it can be a cultural issue.
He's a fraud. It's kind of like he gets in the ring and he likes to bow. He doesn't come from a bowing culture. If you bow in Brazil, they'll hit you over your head and take your wallet.
Say you no respect nothing. Say you no respect UFC. Say you no respect my country.
Sometimes, if you get really lucky, it could be a nation versus nation.
Irish, only 6 million. Russian, 150 million.
And sometimes the truth is, I do not like you. I do not believe you belong where you are, at the top. I do not believe that you are the best in the world. And I will not accept that you continue to come out and tell people you are. But there's got to be a reason. If you want to close out the night in front of a full house, in front of a live pay-per-view audience, you've got to have a feud.
And that's what the UFC has always tried to do. Dana White understood we have to tell the stories of these guys, because if you get behind one of the fighters, you're going to be against the other fighter, and you're going to have an emotional connection. And that emotional connection sells and sells big.
Let me give you some examples. One of the best fighters I've ever seen, Randy Couture, Hall of Famer, multiple-time world champion, takes on Chuck Liddell. The competitive architecture said you're number one and you're number two and you have to fight. They did fine business. Triple the business without any difference in skills, without any better resumes, was Tito Ortiz versus Chuck Liddell, because they had a story.
Anderson Silva, the most dominant fighter in the world today, as he takes on the Pride champion, Dan Henderson.
Anderson Silva against Dan Henderson was a high-caliber matchup at the time.
Sensational.
The second Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva fight did like double the buys.
Take it over to Ronda Rousey.
When they did the Battle of the Olympians with Ronda Rousey and Sarah McMahon, it was promoted as a big fight.
I was there. I watched it live. The arena was not sold out, and the pay-per-view numbers weren't anything to set the world on fire.
Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate coming off of The Ultimate Fighters, the second fight between the two, and that was like a big grudge thing. That did triple the buys.
My career is a perfect example. You know, me fighting Hinder Barao should have been a really big deal just for the sport. You know, two guys being the best in their time and to get out there and get it done. But when you got two guys that really hate each other and that are great, it brings that much more attention.
We can observe these facts. I can lay these numbers out to you all day long. I can tell you how Cormier and Gustafsson was a flop, and they're two of the best fighters I've ever seen. I can tell you why Cormier and Jones was a wild success. Is because it was real, because it was authentic, bad blood. And this has been what's good for business.
Tito
So you're going to have certain people who have a charisma. If you have a Conor McGregor, a Ronda Rousey, an Anderson Silva, once they got to a certain point, their fights are always going to do good. But once you then find that worthy rival for them, there's that something extra to it. If it's animosity, there's got to be that something more. But once you add that to the equation, that's where you get the mega fight. That's where now pay-per-view buys are through the roof and just the crowd buzz goes off the chart. So it helps to have that one superstar, but they need that right dance partner to get to that next level.
Don't forget, no matter how much I hated Anderson Silva, and I hated Anderson Silva, he kept me up at night. And when I say I hate him, I don't wish him a bad life, but competitively, I wanted to beat him. But we're still partners in a business relationship.
I'm very thankful that I had a rival like Ronda. I think that Ronda and I put women's MMA on the map. If I didn't have that true distaste for her, I don't think that our fights would have been as fiery. So I can truly say that I'm grateful to have a rival that helped form women's MMA.
I always get asked, am I this person or am I that person? People may see me on a screen and I'd say, well, is this an actor? Are you this way? Are you that way? The truth is I'm actually all those ways. It depends on the situation in front of me, or the person in front of me, on how I react or how I come across.
They want you to give us a quick count to 10, both of you gentlemen, if you don't mind, just if you wouldn't mind counting to 10.
Nate can only count to 5. 10.
Personalities, stories, history, that stuff makes fights. When two people really don't like each other, even to the point of hatred, you know, there's something intriguing about that.
I'm gonna smash you, brother. Believe that.
He's got it. It's under the neck.
There's the tap. Still undisputed. Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Look at him. Look at him screaming at the corner.
And now Khabib jumps the fence. Whoa! Mayhem! Oh, no.
Bad blood is great business. Long don't go too far. You can't have bad blood to the point where you're taking it off the field or court of play, to the point where you're getting arrested and you can't compete. The mere possibility of that happening is appalling to you because it gets in the way of the business of sports. The business of sports is what it's all about. Make that money.
There's something very compelling about seeing two fighters fight in an unsanctioned match, but I'm not proud of that. And I don't want any of my message to get out that this has been what's good for business. Those are very bad and dark times in the sport. But the reason that the street altercation between Jones and Cormier worked is because it was real. The reason the altercation between Conor and Khabib worked is because it was authentic and it was real.
Why you need to come here? Show up like you wanna fight or something like this. Send me a message, hey, come here, this place, and that's it.
Does everybody realize this is a fight? You know, not all the time guys are gonna like each other, and they're not always gonna live within the martial arts realm. It's part of the history of this company and part of the sport. You can't deny it. It was some of the drama and some of the excitement that helped us get where we are today. This is a fight, and this is the fight business.
If you listen to Dana White talk sometimes, he says, of course, we have the best fighters in the world. I want to find out the best fighters in the world. I want my guys to want to be the best fighters in the world. But what else does he say? He says, I put on the fights that fans want to see, and fans want to see bad blood.
Bad blood rivalries have been the driving force for the biggest business the UFC has done for the last 25 years, and I think you look forward to the next 25 years and it's going to be the same way. There's going to be new rivalries, there's going to be new fighters saying why they don't like one another, and there's going to be new people that are drawn in by that and want to pay to watch them fight.
Ultimately, it comes down to personal feud. There is nothing that trumps that.
This is what it's all about. Not this fluff stuff, hug one another, singing kumbaya. These are fisticuffs here. That is what the sports fan wants. And as long as you give that to them, bad blood will always sell.
I'm not surprised, motherfuckers. Frankie had a horseshoe up his ass. I pulled that sumbitch out, and I beat him over the head with it.
Ronda Rousey remains the UFC bantamweight champion.
But you still want to hate, be my guest.
Wow, she went to shake Ronda's hand and Ronda walked away from her.
Surprise, surprise, motherfucker. The king is back.
Don't hate me, hate the money I see.
And Anderson Silva, you absolutely suck. This is trouble. Can he choke out Chael Sonnen? He said it is all over. Unbelievable.
I wish they would let me next door so I can spit in your fucking face.
You know I would absolutely kill you if you ever did something like that.
You
right?
could never kill me.
Oh, I bet you I could.
I do not like DC. All the crap he talks, it motivated me.
Oh, John landed a high kick. He's hurt.
Cormier is down.
That's it. He's out.
John Jones has done it. Come on, people.
But I won't stop now.
Come on. It ain't gonna never stop, y'all.
Can't stop.